Hello and welcome to the studio for the second film in this three-part series of printing this fundraising print, Wheatfield's Blue Sky. So an update on the fundraising is that we had an amazing response. The whole edition of 50 prints sold out in 18 minutes, and I'm delighted to say that with a couple of additional donations, I'm going to be able to send £2,000 to the Disasters Emergency Committee for their Ukrainian humanitarian appeal. So thank you very much if you managed to get one of these prints, and your help really means a lot. So in this episode we are going to be looking at inking, mixing colour, colour rolls, and getting this bleed to go from yellow to blue. Now that I've got my blocks ready, the next thing to do is to mix the colour. And since this is the fundraiser for Ukraine, I want to have a sky that bleeds from yellow into blue. But I don't want it to be a literal Ukrainian flag. It seems to me that this print needs to look like a proper dawn sky. It's important to me that it looks very natural. And that's quite a big ask because I need to get it to go yellow to blue across the width here, which is actually quite narrow. Don't want any green in it. And so I am going to mix my colours now. And what I have here is, these are all oil-based inks. And I have got, if I just tell you what I have got, I've got a sort of lemon yellow, a warm yellow, Van Dyke brown, a poppy red, Payne's grey, and ultramarine. So I'm going to start at the sort of pale end of the spectrum. And I also have white and an extender. So I'm going to have to mix quite a lot of this because I'm going to do quite a big addition. And I'm going to be doing a lot of shuffling to and fro. I am just going to feel my way with this. When it comes to the printing, I'm going to be printing very, very thin layers of ink. So I won't be using much ink on the printing at all. So that will affect the colour as well. Of course, if you use less ink, it's going to look a little bit paler as well. So I have to factor that in. So I'm just going to add a little bit of extender to that. I have to break into some new extender before the end of this process. And I would normally do this at my big mixing sheet over in the other side of the studio, but for the purposes of filming I'm going to mix here. And you see how I'm using one colour to mix into another. That's something I do all the time. I prefer to work this way rather than mixing a load of separate colours. I find it sort of easier to think like this. And the trick trick I've found with getting yellow into blue without green is to have a kind of browny orange in the middle of it. So I'm going to try and get that right now. Van Dyke Brown's a good one because it's a transparent brown. I don't actually like the colour of it, but it's a really good colour for mixing with other colours. I realise this looks slightly alarming at this stage, but it will make visual sense when we come to print. And also it looks like there's going to be much too much colour here, but when I come to do the rainbow roll I'll position it so that it's much tighter together. I just want a little bit, I want to kill that blue a little bit, just knock it back a little. Which again looks alarming, it looks like I've just put that, turned it brown, but it just makes it a little bit more natural. And again, I want some extender. So it looks like a funny old set of colours, but hopefully this is going to give me what I need. It's a little bit too grey, so I'm going to put some more blue in there. It's better. The other thing to remember is that when you roll out very thin extended ink is that the white of the paper will make the colour a little bit brighter as well. So there's a sort of balance to be had there as well, because you don't want to sort of tip into kind of cartoon colours for a natural sunrisey kind of feel. That's better. That's more like it. And I think I might add a little bit more white to it. And I always keep trimmings from when I'm cutting paper down to size, because they're really handy for just testing colours on. That's what I get. And then finally I want the blue. So I'm going to come over here and let's have a bit of that. Much braver with this bit. It's better. In fact, I might mix up a little bit more of that. I'm still going to pinch a bit of that. Let's put more ultramarine. Extender. So I am aiming at printing 50 of these, and this is probably enough ink to do that first layer. In fact, I'm almost certain that it's enough. So I'm not needing vast amounts of ink to do this. Okay, so that's the basic colours. I'm going to run some tests and see if I'm happy with them. So what I have is a roller. Now this is the width of the print, and I would always go with a roller that is wider than the block for doing a rainbow roll like this. And yes, some bits will go off at the sides, but that's going to work a lot better than having a roll that's too short and then having to sort of improvise to reach the edges. So now I'm going to do my rainbow roll, and I have a piece of white card under these bits of Perspex so that I can see the colours better. And I've actually drawn the width of the rainbow roll here so that I know how to lay out my colours. And I'll pop them out now. So when I'm doing something like this, what I generally do is to have like the mother load on in one area, and then I can just add inks as and when I need them. And at this stage, it's still very much testing and proofing, so this may need a bit of adjusting once I get going, but we'll see. And actually, I think it will, because I just might move the blue. If the yellow came up a little bit higher, so maybe we'll have a transitional colour. If you watch my films before, you know that I never work to plan. There's always changes go on. So I'm just going to put a little extra colour in there. Okay. So I'm checking to see that my roller is free of any dust, and also I know this is because I've given it a good clean. And I'm just going to start working that roll. I can see that I could be a little bit punchy with that blue. So this rainbow roll that I'm working on now is for the lino, the flat lino underprinting. When I come to do the rainbow roll for the woodblock bit, it'll be a little bit punchier than this. Okay, let's just and I want it really thin, as I say. And you can see how thin that is, hopefully. If I lift it up and put my hand under it, you can see that's fairly thin there. And also, hopefully, you can see there is no green going on. So that sort of gingery stripe and pale grey blue take away any danger of any green. Which always feels slightly magic to me for some reason. So I am just going to print up my lino and take a test print to show you. So I'm just taking my time to work over the block nice and carefully and get a smooth sheet of colour. So I am just going to do a little test print and we'll see if that colour blend is working or if I need to change the balance at all. And I'm just using a plain office copy of paper for this. It's just a little check to see how we're doing. And pressure-wise, I've got 3 pieces of card here, which is going to put a moderate pressure on. It may not be enough. We'll just see how we go. I suspect that may not be strong enough. I'm just going to have a cheeky look before I take it off completely. Well, that's not bad actually. Okay. So, hopefully you can see there that I have the start of a print. Now it did need more pressure because it's not catching the edges down quite, and I quite like this. I like the yellow bit and I like the transition here, but we need more blue up at the top. I've made that blue a little weak. So I'm going to leave the yellow as is probably and just increase the blue, and then I will be good to go to print the first layer. So I've done a bit of faffing off camera to adjust the colours a little bit. So I'm just going to put them back onto the rainbow roll, And I added some of that gingery brown to the yellows to knock them back a bit and make them a little bit warmer, so that they're not quite so dominant. And I'm just going to make that gingery part occupy a little bit more space. And I have made the blue much more punchy, but I'm keeping that pale grey blue as it is. So now I'm going to come on to the blue, which, as you can see, is a lot more punchy. Okay. And you notice I'm working the roller a lot. When you use extender and when you're using thin layers of paint, it's really important just to take your time to roll things out. The more you roll the ink, the better it's going to get with oil-based ink. If you use water-based ink, do be careful with this because it can start to dry while you're working with it. So now I've got what I want, I'm going to go over to the press and ink up. Just hunt out another piece of card because I need a little bit more pressure for printing with. That's much better. So, what I need to do is find a piece of white to put behind it so you can see. There we go, that's better. So now I have it as I want it, my blue and yellow working nicely together. So now I am going to settle down. That's one down, another 49 to go, and then I can start thinking about the rainbow roll for the woodblock print. So I'm going to leave you now and carry on printing. Thank you very much for joining me for this episode, and I hope you'll join me again. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to catch all my printmaking films, and if you've liked the episode, please give me a thumbs up because that really helps. See you soon. Bye.